Betrayal was proven. When Emily showed an old phone in a packed New York courtroom, and the recording made even the judge rise from his chair. No one ever imagined Mr. Miller's biggest secret would be exposed in front of everyone, and justice was finally served. The judge had already lifted his gavel to end Emily Carter's life forever. Across the courtroom, billionaire Richard Miller smiled like victory was already in his pocket. But then Emily pulled a cracked old phone from her coat and whispered, "Your Honor, before you strike that gavel, play this recording." 5 seconds later, Mr. Miller screamed, "Turn it off." And by the end of that recording, the judge was standing, the lawyers were silent, and New York's most powerful businessman was exposed as a criminal. But the truth did not begin in that courtroom. It began 5 years earlier on a rainy Monday morning in Queens. Emily Carter was just an accounts assistant at Miller Industries. She was 32 years old, quiet, honest, and desperate to keep her life from falling apart. Her mother was sick. Hospital bills were stacked on the kitchen table. Rent was late. Every morning, Emily took the subway before sunrise, telling herself, "Just one more day. Just keep going." She worked for Richard Miller, a man New York magazines called the King of Real Estate. He donated to hospitals. He spoke at charity dinners. He smiled on television like a saint. But inside Miller Industries he ruled through fear. One night, while reviewing financial records, Emily found something strange. Millions of dollars were being moved through hidden accounts. The signatures were fake, but the approvals came from the highest office in the company. Mr. Miller's office. Emily printed the files. She planned to report everything the next morning, but she never got the chance. At 8:17 a.m., security escorted her into the boardroom. Mr. Miller sat at the head of the table with 3 lawyers beside him. He placed a folder in front of her and said, "Emily, we know you stole company money." Emily stared at him. "What? You moved funds into private accounts," one lawyer said. "That's impossible," Emily replied. "I found those accounts last night. I was going to report them." Mr. Miller leaned back and smiled. "That is a very convenient story." Within 1 hour, Emily lost her job. Within 1 day, her company email was deleted. Within 1 week, local news called her a thief. Her landlord refused to renew her lease. Friends stopped answering her calls. Even people at the hospital looked at her differently when she visited her mother. Her mother held her hand and whispered, "Emily, tell me you didn't do this." Emily broke down. "I swear, Mom. I swear I didn't." But the world does not always ask who is innocent. Sometimes it only asks who looks guilty. And Mr. Miller had made sure Emily looked guilty. Now answer this honestly. If everyone called you a thief and only one broken old phone could prove your innocence, would you keep fighting or give up? Comment fight or give up. For 5 years, Emily lived like a shadow. She cleaned offices at night. She worked in diners. She slept in a small rented room in Brooklyn and sent every extra dollar to her mother's medical bills. Meanwhile, Richard Miller kept rising. New buildings. New interviews. New awards. Every time Emily saw his face on TV, she felt the same pain. Not just anger. Betrayal. Because Mr. Miller had not only destroyed her career. He had buried her name. Then one cold November evening, Emily returned to her old apartment building in Queens. The building was being renovated and workers had thrown old boxes beside the trash bins. One box had her name written on it in faded marker. Emily opened it. Inside were old notebooks, a broken picture frame, and something wrapped in a towel. Her old phone. The same phone she had lost the week her life collapsed. The screen was shattered. The back was loose. It would not turn on. But Emily felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. She took it to a tiny repair shop in Brooklyn. The technician said, "This phone is almost dead." Emily placed her last cash on the counter. "Then bring it back for 1 minute." 2 days later, the phone turned on. At first there were only old photos. Her mother smiling. Her desk at work. A picture of New York rain on the office window. Then Emily saw an audio file. She did not remember recording it. Her fingers trembled as she pressed play. Static filled the room. Then came Richard Miller's voice. "Emily Carter is becoming a problem." Another man replied, "Because of the missing money?" Mr. Miller laughed. "Not just the money. The trust documents. If she finds out who her father really was, I lose everything." Emily stopped breathing. The recording continued. "Frame her," Mr. Miller said. "Make her look like a thief. Once her name is ruined, no judge will believe her." Emily dropped the phone. Her father, trust documents, lose everything. For the first time in 5 years, Emily realized this was bigger than stolen money. Her father, Thomas Carter, had helped build Miller Industries 20 years earlier. Before he died, he had placed shares into a legal trust for Emily. Mr. Miller had hidden it. Emily was not just an employee. She was the rightful heir to part of the company. The next morning, Emily walked into a legal aid office in Manhattan. Most lawyers had already refused her case. Mr. Miller was too rich, too connected, too dangerous. But an older attorney named Samuel Brooks listened to the recording twice. Then he removed his glasses and said, "Emily, this is fraud, conspiracy, perjury, and theft of inheritance." Emily whispered, "Can we win?" Samuel looked at the cracked phone. "With this," he said, "we can do more than win." The trial became a media event. Richard Miller arrived at the New York courthouse in a black luxury car. His lawyers carried leather briefcases. Reporters shouted questions. He smiled like a man who owned the building. Emily arrived in a simple gray coat, holding that old phone in her pocket. For days, Miller's lawyers attacked her. They called her unstable. They called her bitter. They said the phone was too old. They said the recording was suspicious. They said Emily wanted money from a successful man. Mr. Miller sat there calmly, enjoying every second. Then his lead attorney stood and said, "Your Honor, Miss Carter has no real evidence. This case is built on emotion, not facts." The judge reached for his gavel. That was when Emily stood. "Your Honor," she said, "I have one piece of evidence left." He pulled out the cracked phone. The courtroom went silent. Mr. Miller's smile disappeared. His lawyer shouted, "Objection." The judge looked at him coldly. "Sit down, counselor." The recording began. Static. Then Mr. Miller's voice. "Frame her. Make it look like she stole the funds." Gasps filled the courtroom. Then the second sentence played. "If she ever finds out she is the legal heir, I lose control of Miller Industries." A reporter dropped his pen. Mr. Miller's attorney froze. The judge slowly rose from his chair. "This court has just heard evidence of perjury, fraud, and conspiracy," he said. Mr. Miller stood up, shaking. "That recording is fake." Then the final line played. "Her father trusted me," Mr. Miller's voice said. "That was his mistake." The courtroom exploded. Before the verdict, answer this. Should a man like Mr. Miller only go to prison, or should every dollar he stole be returned to the people he destroyed? Write your opinion in the comments. The judge cleared Emily of every false charge. Richard Miller was arrested for fraud, conspiracy, perjury, and obstruction of justice. His company assets were frozen. The trust documents were reopened. And the court confirmed the truth Mr. Miller had buried for 20 years. Emily Carter was the rightful heir to a controlling share of Miller Industries. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed as police led Richard Miller down the steps in handcuffs. The same reporters who once called Emily a thief now shouted her name with respect. Mr. Miller looked back at her, broken and humiliated. Emily did not smile. She simply said, "You spent 20 years building an empire on lies. One broken phone brought it down in 3 minutes." Months later, Emily renamed the company Carter Legacy Foundation. She sold Miller's luxury penthouse and used the money to pay medical debts for struggling families across New York. And in her new office, she kept the cracked phone inside a glass case. Not because it was expensive, because it proved one thing. A lie may wear a $1,000 suit, hire powerful lawyers, and sit proudly in a courtroom. But truth can rise from a trash bin, speak through a broken phone, and bring an empire to its knees. Moral: never think truth is weak just because it is silent. Sometimes truth waits for the right moment, and when it finally speaks, even the powerful have nowhere left to hide. If Emily's story gave you chills, hit like, subscribe, and comment justice below. Every broken voice deserves one chance to be heard.